If you're looking for poems that'll transport you to another world, you can't go wrong with William Blake. He wrote some real doozies, and he even made up his own mythology of gods and monsters and stuff. But honestly, when I think of how cool and weird Blake's poetry is, I always end up coming back to The Sick Rose. It seems like such a simple little poem, but there's like a whole universe of cosmic struggle inside it. Check it out. O Rose, thou art sick. The invisible worm that flies in the night in the howling storm has found out thy bed of crimson joy, and his dark secret love does thy life destroy. That's only 34 words in 8 lines, and all the words are short. Most of them are only 1 syllable long, and only one of them is more than 2 syllables. There's no real pattern to the number of syllables per line, but there is to the number of words per line. There's a simple little rhyme scheme. Worm and storm, joy and destroy. Well, worm and storm don't really rhyme in American English, but they did to William Blake. Something like warm and storm. I'm not really good at accents. Now, normally I don't like to get caught up in this kind of bean counting when I read poetry. Figuring out how many lines are like this and how many words are like that. My point is just that this poem is so small and tight and compact, but it doesn't feel that way when you read it. And that's thanks to a little thing called connotation. Hold on. I get this old film strip here. Yeah, there we go.
Words have meanings. That's what makes them so fun and useful. But words have 2 different kinds of meanings: denotations and connotations. A word's denotation is its primary literal meaning. Denotation comes from the Latin notare, meaning to note or mark, and de, meaning down. When a word denotes something, it marks down its meaning. If you look up a word in the dictionary, you'll find its denotation. For example, the word fire denotes the combustion of chemicals that produces heat, often used for cooking and warmth. Connotation is quite different. This is where things get real exciting. A word's connotations are its secondary, non-literal meanings. The word connotation comes from notare and the Latin prefix con, meaning with. When a word connotes something, it signifies it along with its primary meaning. Think of connotation as the unofficial meaning of a word. It's what we associate with the word and what it reminds us of. You won't find that in a dictionary. Let's look at an ordinary word like rocket. The word rocket denotes a projectile that obtains thrust through the expulsion of a propellant. That is its objective, literal meaning. But what are the connotations of the word rocket? What does it make us think of? Speed, fireworks, science, outer space, adventure, progress, the future, mass annihilation, warfare, nuclear apocalypse. The list goes on. With connotation, the sky is the limit.
So, let's just go through this and think about the connotations of these words. Oh, rose. Well, a rose is a flower. They're red, the color of passion, love, romance, blood, fire, danger. Danger. Roses have thorns, too, which makes them beautiful but dangerous. And it's like the crown of thorns. And roses are a symbol of the Virgin Mary. And come to think of it, Aphrodite, too, the Greek god of love and sex. William Blake was English, and the rose is also a symbol of England. You know, what with the War of the Roses and whatnot. Oh, and Rose is a name, too. A woman's name, so the rose is kind of feminine. And it's a sick rose. That makes it sound like it's wilting, or maybe it's all pale and weak and blotchy with fungus or something. Sick has connotations of corruption, weakness, poison, and death. The invisible worm that flies in the night. Worms make you think of dirt, slime, filth, rot, more sickness, more corruption, parasites. Now, I didn't mean you were a parasite. Yeah, I know you're a significant contributor to soil aeration, but I didn't mean earthworms. I meant, tapeworms, larvae, those kind of guys. Parasites. Oh, and speaking of larvae, William Blake actually illustrated his own poems. And for the sick rose, he drew this little caterpillar. That's a kind of worm. It's not flying, but hey, caterpillars turn into butterflies and they fly. And they feed on flowers. But Blake also drew this little lady coming out of the rose with what kind of looks like a tentacle or something. Is that a worm? I'm not really sure what that is. But you don't need the illustration anyway. A worm doesn't even have to be a worm. At least not what we'd call a worm nowadays. It's actually an Old English word for serpent, and that usually meant a dragon. Yeah, sometimes people try to spell it all old-timey with a Y, but it's the same word. Now, dragons are monsters. They breathe fire. They're greedy, evil, reptilian, violent. And this worm is invisible. Invisible has connotations of secrecy and spookiness. Like the worm doesn't want you to see it. And what else is invisible? Ghosts, spirits, the wind? Or wait, maybe the worm is invisible because it's inside the rose, like a parasite, making it sick. Hey, that makes sense. But it's at night too. So maybe the worm's invisible because it's just too dark out to see it, like a ninja. The night is black and scary. That's when all the predators come out to get you. Plus, we're not just talking about a clear night sky. There's a howling storm. Lightning, rain, hail, clouds, wind, destruction. Howling. Hey, speaking of predators coming out to get you, that makes me think of wolves and werewolves howling at the moon at night. But howling also has connotations of just being overwhelmed with emotion. Pain, anger, sadness, fear. Pretty much anything. Now, Bed of Crimson Joy sounds nice, doesn't it? Bed makes you think of sleep, dreams, comfort, nighttime. Not in the scary way like with the worm and the storm, but in a peaceful way, like bedtime. And since we're talking about a rose, it's a flower bed, so it's a garden. Growth, beauty, peace, innocence, nature. Heck, it's a bed of roses. Crimson is a shade of red, like the color of blood. So, it's a bed of blood-colored joy? Dark secret love. More darkness, more secrecy, more love. But it's his dark secret love, so the worm is definitely masculine. Then life, good. Destroy, bad. And it doesn't say, does thy life end? No, the worm's dark secret love destroys the rose's life. That's violent, aggressive, apocalyptic. Maybe even evil, but maybe not. I mean, a storm is destructive, but it's not evil, right? So maybe it's just like a force of nature. Either way, it's death. So now we've got love and death, red and black. Love, when life begins, reproduction, innocence, a rose in a garden. Death, when life ends, violence, sickness, a worm flying in a nighttime storm. The worm invades the garden. And a worm can be a serpent. The Garden of Eden, sin, the fall of man, Eve, blood and thorns, Jesus, God, the Bible, the Virgin Mary, virginity, experience, and growth. The rose is a woman, but it's also a woman's body and a womb. Sickness, pregnancy, all the pain and danger of childbirth, aging. The worm kills the rose with love. A dark secret love, seduction, lust, loss of innocence. But the worm is a dragon, too. And what else used to be called worms? Snakes, scorpions, snails, caterpillars. Oh, the caterpillar. The life cycle, the changing seasons, more rebirth and renewal. A worm turning into something beautiful. Which is like the opposite of the beautiful rose turning into something sick. Oh man, so many opposites. Life, death, masculinity, femininity, childhood, adulthood, innocence, experience, the beginning and the end, corruption and beauty. Then you got the forces of nature, gods and monsters, sex and violence, invisible predators in the night. That's pretty much all I got off the top of my head. Man, what a great poem.